there, comedy fans. Welcome to My First Joke, the podcast where we dive into the hilarious, awkward, and inspiring stories of how comedians got their start. I'm your host, Kareem Kanji, and today I am joined by Kris Siddiqi, one of the funniest people you'll ever meet.
Oh my God, what praise. Thank you.
Listen, Kris, before we get started,
Yes.
this is a message for you and everyone who's listening. Don't forget to subscribe to My First Joke, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you enjoy what you hear, share it with your friends, leave a review, hit us up with some 5 stars. And if you want to stay in the loop, follow me on Instagram at Kareem Kanji for updates, behind the scenes content, and more laughs. And while we're promoting my podcast, Kris, do you have a Dungeons and Dragons podcast?
I do have a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. It's called Dwarven Moss.
All right, check that out everywhere you find podcasts as well, and subscribe and give them 5 stars.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Thank you for joining me today, man.
Thank you for having me, brother, as always.
Yeah. So listen, what happened in your life where you thought to yourself, let me give this comedy thing a try?
Let me do this. You know what it was? I grew up with a big family, and we were all funny. You know, my dad was funny, but when you got a big family and you're sitting at the dinner table and you can like crack a joke or like do an impression or whatever and make everybody laugh, I was like, oh, I'm good at this, you know, because I had 3 sisters, my mom, my dad, and my aunt. My mom's aunt lived with us, so my great aunt. So that was like, you know, that's a small crowd of 6 people. So I could make them laugh, and I was like, I could do this. And I remember, you know, once I got into high school, really, that's when, like, you know, you have drama class and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm good at this. I can hone this.
Okay, so you did like drama in high school?
Yes, I did. I had a really good drama program at my high school. I went to Northern, right at Mount Pleasant in Eglinton.
Okay.
And they had really good extracurricular stuff. They're a really good extracurricular drama program. And I always wanted to do, I always love comedy. I think the other thing too is I grew up with watching so much stand-up specials.
Okay.
And Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a perfect place to indulge in all this.
Do you remember the first special you watched? Or the one that hit you the most?
Yeah, it was Eddie Murphy, Delirious.
I think for a lot of people, our age, it was Delirious and or Raw.
Yeah, for me it was. Raw was after, right?
Yeah,
and Delirious was right after. I think he had just left. Yeah, he had just left Saturday Night Live. He was still 21.
Is that
I have
how old he was
vivid memories of keeling over as a child and just like not being able to breathe, being on the floor and punching the floor. Oh my God, it was, and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do.
Wow. Yeah. Was Delirious his red leather suit? Or whatever?
No, that was Raw.
That was Raw?
The red leather. The Delirious was purple. I believe it was like a purple suit.
Purple dark. It was dark one, right? Dark leather.
Yeah, it was dark, but he still had it, you know, like open down to his, just below his nipples or whatever. You know, actually, this is really funny too, because my son has just started listening to Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy.
Oh my God.
I was like, what a weird throwback. I love that he's picking this.
Oh, how do you come across that video randomly?
I don't know. It's for whatever, all the weird videos that he watches on YouTube. Some TikTok is sampling it or something.
Wow.
But yeah, I remember definitely that one. And you know what? I remember seeing actually when I was a kid. I can't even find it now. I wish I remembered it more. But it was this Robin Williams. That was another guy who was just like, I want to be Robin Williams. Yeah. I felt like Eddie Murphy and Robin Williams for me, because those were guys that just kept going in and out of characters, right? And I was like, I can do that. Jokes are really those. That was really intimidating to me, writing jokes, but I knew I could do impressions and make people laugh. So seeing that like Eddie Murphy can do it and Robin Williams can do it. And I remember seeing this one Robin Williams special. And at the end of it, like he played this character like he was a kid and he was talking to God or his parent or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I remember watching it as a kid and I was like, wow, this is really touching. And I think that's where the pathos I saw in comedy, where the like the realness and the pathos and the sadness sort of comes in, and how comedians can use that
Yeah. Wow.
Uh,
Did you, you talked about whose line is it anyway? And that's a different form of comedy than stand up. But I'm wondering, did you ever do stand up? Did you go on stage ever, just you and a mic and a crowd?
way more in the past like 10 to
Yeah.
12 years than I ever did when I was a kid. Because again,
Really?
I was
Okay.
just so intimidated by it. I loved it and I consumed so much of it,
Yeah.
but it was really intimidating. And the moment I started when I was a kid, when I watched Whose Line Is It Anyway, I was like, oh, I know I could do that. I could fuck
Ah,
around with other people.
okay.
And that, I think, after a very long while, gave me the confidence to be like, okay, I can do stand up now. So, I've been doing stand up for, I guess, more than 15 years in a
Oh,
very,
wow.
like, I would say part time way. And again, I was saying all the people you're talking to are like, those are weathered comedians. Those people put themselves on the road and they put themselves in front of audiences, and it's insanely admirable. I love all that, and it's also such a friggin' honor to call all those people friends.
That's
That's it's
amazing.
kind of a lovely thing when you're a comedian and you kind of can dip in all the different pools, do stand up and do improv, do sketch and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember, Chris, the first joke you ever told on stage?
Yes. The first stand up joke
Yeah.
I remember telling was really, it was kind of a combo of my impressions, and I still do it because it still works. This thing is almost like 15, 20 years old, but I was doing this Werner Herzog impression,
Okay.
and I just use this dumb knock knock joke. So that's
Ah,
Werner Herzog. He goes, knock knock,
who's there?
9/11.
9/11 who?
You said you would never forget.
Ah!
So stupid. So stupid, right? But it worked. And I was like, oh my God, it worked. That was one of the first ones I tried. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And then after that, I tried this one. I remember writing this one down to be like, I think this is good. And this is also before I really understood punchlines. I would just say something dumb. I'd say, I just got a new phone. And I still do this one too, which is terrible. I should write more material, but I just got a new phone and it auto corrected Dufferin Mall to Suffering Mall.
Suffering Mall.
And I just kept it because I thought that's, one of the most truest autocorrects I've ever seen in my life. So now the hilarious thing is one time I got a newer phone and it corrected Dufferin Mall to Suffering Hell. And I was like, oh, geez, that's even more apt.
That is a good one. Listen, whether it was stand up or improv, how was your first outside of school, right? Like school, you know the kids in your class, there's
Yeah.
some comfort level there, but when you go and there's an audience that you don't know them, they don't know you.
Yeah.
How did that go?
You know what? It went well enough that I remember at the very least, like improv. I can't remember. That's probably like when I was a kid or, like outside of school. I think that was me really gauging like, oh my God, okay, this is it. This is truly being in front of a crowd of people, like you say, that aren't my friends and family, that aren't my teachers and fellow
Yeah,
students or
yeah.
whatever. So it's the adrenaline you get of
Hmm.
because with improv you're on stage with other people, so you can get really like fucking amped up and ready to go and screaming a lot. I think that's the other thing. Young men just friggin' scream on stage and they think that's funny. And then I remember the first time I did stand up, I was hosting the show. Someone asked me to host, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous
Yeah.
because that means I have the most stage time and I kind of have to go in between. But it was after I had gotten off of Second City main stage. So at the very least, I was uh, attuned to being, on stage in front of a huge crowd of people and sort of keeping a show going. And that's where I tried out, my, my Werner Herzog joke and my Suffering Hell joke.
Mhm.
And that was at a bar on, I think, Dundas West or maybe in Kensington. But anyway, it was awesome. It was really like, it was so nerve wracking. And I tell you, dude, it's still nerve wracking. I go to stand up shows today and I love going to do stand up now. And I push myself to do it because I do get nervous. It's
Wow.
so not like improv, but I get nervous because I'm just like, oh my God, I'm doing this thing again. And I'm all by myself and there's no safety net. But I've learned to really just go, you know what, I have to, because there are also so many other stand-ups out there I admire that do the thing they do, that it
Yeah.
is really just like, they're not just reading off their list of jokes. They're having fun with the crowd and talking to the crowd. So I'm like, I got to do that more. I got to be more of my improviser self and sew in some material that I've written, stuff that I like talking about, or goofy, dumb things that I want to make jokes of or whatever.
Nice, nice. Kris, let me ask you this. And it's a weird question, but it's a question I'm wondering whether you've ever thought of it.
Okay. I
Do
like
you
weird questions.
do you do you feel like you've made it? Like when you sit back and you're sipping a soda or a beverage of some sort, or you're having breakfast, reading the New York Times. I don't know. Like,
Dude, that's not. Do you ask everybody this? This is a great question. This is such a.
yeah,
I think we all would say no.
that's the thing. Like, well, some people say no, but some people say, you know what, I've been able to make a living, and who would have thought telling jokes?
Well,
It's
yeah,
different for different people.
100%. It's so subjective, right? Like, what has
Yeah,
made it
yeah,
to? I want to say that, but if I'm going to the old school way, if I made it, if I'm on the road, if people, know my name, if I can go into a room, or if my name's on a marquee and people want to come to my show and I've never met, they've traveled through provinces and states to come see me. I guess maybe that to me would be like making it. I made it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You can,
yeah.
and I mean, I don't know. This is a great question, Karim. I love this question. It's not weird at all. It's so psychologically traumatizing for all of us comedians. No, I think maybe no. And I say this. I don't
Okay,
think I've made it, but I
okay.
only say that because I'm hard on myself and I push
Mm,
myself.
yeah,
So what I want to do is try and make it within my own mind. Maybe there are other people out there who are like,
okay,
"Oh, what are you talking about? You've made it. Look at you. You've done all this stuff." But I'm like,
yeah.
"Yeah, but there's still more stuff to do, and I want to make that."
Is
You
there?
know,
Do you know what that is? Like, is it your name on a marquee
I
and there's
think
a
maybe it
lineup?
is a name on a marquee, my name on an album that I can. It's an hour long, and people will listen to. People will
Yeah,
travel from another country to come see me perform, or ask me, "Hey, we want to bring you to Australia so you can play the opera house." I'll be
yeah.
like, "Yes, finally, I made it."
Nice.
But I'm
Okay.
gonna be 45 this year. I gotta be realistic. Holy Christ! I better start working hard if I want to make this, whatever that is.
Hey, listen, you still got your hair at 45. That's a blessing, man.
That's true, actually. I should start telling people I'm 30 just because of this hair and everything. I'll
Yeah.
just give myself a bit of longer runway.
You could pass off as your son's older brother.
Yeah, I started introducing my son as my dad.
Kris, how has your style changed?
I tell you, I'm more thoughtful. I'm slower now. I think I was a lot more energetic, and I was because I was nervous, right? And I got that improv energy, and
Yeah.
I think it was too fast, too loud. What I love doing now, I tell you, man, I love taking pauses. I love being slower. I love using the volume so I can kind of just start off small, but then go. I love using my face and my eyes more. Like I like pausing a bit more and taking
Ah,
my time. I think I'm a lot more thoughtful in my punchlines too, because before I used to think like, oh, that's funny, but I never looked into why it's funny. I never extrapolated on my own ideas, and I never really, thought out more stuff. And I want to do that, and I think I do that a lot more now than I used to, because there's I want to be a better writer. I'm always trying to be a better writer. So I'm always thinking, what more can I pull out of this? Can I get people to laugh at? And I think I use that word a lot recently, extrapolate, because I think that's a good word to be like, you got one thing there. If you got a good idea, extrapolate on that good idea rather than trying to bog it down with other good ideas. You know what I mean? If you can dissect a good idea and make more funny out of that one good idea, it's better than bulking yourself up with other quote unquote good ideas. So I think that's how my style has changed. I allow myself a bit more time now, a bit more pacing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Listen, Kris, as we end it, let's promote your. I got my dog crying out here. Hold on a second.
Oh, fair enough.
Let's promote your podcast.
Okay, I got a bunch of things to promote.
Okay, let's
Can I do
it.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's my podcast. If you're a D&D nerd, you can listen to Dwarven Moss. If you're also a D&D nerd, you can come to the Comedy Bar Danforth the last Tuesday of every month and come see the Role Players, where we play Dungeons and Dragons live on stage with all the dice. You know, there's no novelty size 20-sided dice. There's no punching on your phone. You're watching comedians play Dungeons and Dragons. I also have a comedy EP. I would talk about albums. My friend Rush helped me put out this comedy EP called, I call it White Brown, because that's who I am. I'm white brown. So there's some of my goofy jokes. My suffering hell joke is on there.
Where can we find that album?
Oh, you can find it Spotify, Apple Music,
Okay.
Spapple Music, Snapple Music. I don't know, wherever you can find comedy albums.
And what's the name of the album again? Say it one more time.
White Brown.
White Brown.
/Brown. White Brown.
White/Brown. Awesome. Anything else?
Dude, and watch my show on YouTube, Bit Players.
Yes.
That's an old one, but God put it on YouTube, so watch it there.
That's how I was introduced to you.
Oh,
hilarious series.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of My First Joke. Hope you guys have had a fun time listening as much as I had chatting with the amazing Kris Siddiqi. Listen, if you enjoyed the show, here's how you can support us. Subscribe to My First Joke wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Share it with your friends. Take a moment to rate and review the podcast. 5 stars really help more people discover the show. And don't forget, follow me on Instagram at Kareem Kanji. Okay, Kris, I'm going to throw it to you. Get ready for this one.
Okay.
Until next time, remember,
take care of yourself and go to bed early.
Nice one. What am I, your son?
Yeah, seriously, what the hell? Stay out late and do everything. Take drugs constantly.
Kris, man, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. So great to see you, as always.